Nathan, I have a few things to remind you of that have happened in our times together that are either scary or funny. I remember when you went to Cumberland with us with the Gilgris, and a lightning storm came up, and our boat broke down. So we stayed on an island, unprotected by anything, and Uncle Paul and Dick Gilgris got another boat, and the boat was metal. And so we had to drive back to land on this metal boat with lightning going on. I'm sure Barb would have really appreciated if I lost her son to a lightning storm when we got home. Um, I also remember the railroad tracks where you taught my kids all about railroads. And they both got poison ivy, and then they got impetigo. And we were taking them to uh, Cleveland to visit one of Paul's, actually it was a boss of Paul's, from P&G. And we got there, and I had to make Sarah and Chris sit on their fireplace because the sores from poison ivy were just dripping. uh, I also remember when you wanted to take all the kids to a football game, and you were, what, fifth grade? And you were going to go to the stadium by yourselves. And you asked your mom, and she said, "Oh, we'll see. Ask Aunt Betsy," because she knew I'd say no, and she didn't want to say no. And I did. Um, I gotta thank you so much for Paul's funeral. You did such a wonderful job. The only thing would have been when you wanted to put the part in that Paul taught you, which is never trust a fart and never waste a heart on. And I said, no way.
I believe the word was erection. Erection.
Oh, well,
Not a word.
that's what I remember. You and Chris had your birthdays every year in Nags Head from the time you were very little, because your birthdays were just like 3 weeks apart. And also, you did such a wonderful job you and Eric at the funeral, and Jake. And I just
Brian.
couldn't thank you enough, because nobody else could have done the job you did. It was just wonderful. Barb Parker said if she'd have known you were coming to Cincinnati for Uncle Mike's funeral, she would have asked you to do it, because the guy that did it wasn't so good. I also remember 9/11, when I get a phone call from you and I'm at the zoo on Grandma's Day, and you said that the King Charles Spaniel that you just ordered was being shipped from New York City to where you were living in New York, and you had they went through Cincinnati, but then the planes had to land, so you called and said, could you please pick up the dog? So Paul and I went to the airport, which was absolutely like a ghost town, picked up the dog, brought him home, and he slept with us because he didn't like being in a cage. I also want to thank you for all the things you do, all the stuff you did before Paul's funeral, and when you came to see him before that, all the bird feeders you've gotten and fixed up, the tennis ball in the garage, which really helps me, the flag outside, that really looks nice. And I have to laugh about the yellow duck that you travel around with that was Aunt Barb's. And I have a yellow duck that I put out at Easter. Every time I put it out, I think of you. I also remember all the trips going to Buffalo and all the trips when you came here to Cincinnati. And every year you would come in the fall and we would go to Kings Island, both families, and spend all day there because Paul was able to get free tickets. We have a lot of great family memories. We were always together in February, and you guys would always come here, and going to Nags Head together. We just were a great family, and we had wonderful times together and wonderful memories. I love you, and I will always cherish you in your company. And happy birthday.